Noah Miller never imagined that saying yes to a desperate text from his boss would unravel everything he'd carefully built: his steady job, his guarded heart, and the safe distance he'd maintained from the woman he'd fallen for in silence. When Victoria Hale sent that first SOS from a disastrous blind date, he thought he was just doing a favor. But rescue after rescue, conversation after conversation, the line between professional courtesy and something far more dangerous blurred until Noah could no longer pretend. Now, standing in her office with his resignation letter in hand, he had to choose: keep playing it safe for his daughter's sake, or risk everything for a chance at something real. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below. I want to see how far this story travels. And if you're ready for a story about unexpected love, impossible choices, and the courage it takes to stop pretending, hit that like button and stay with me until the end. This is Noah's story. The text came at 8:47 p.m. on a Friday, just as Noah Miller was washing the last of the dinner dishes. His daughter Lily had finally settled into bed after 3 stories, 2 glasses of water, and 1 lengthy negotiation about whether stuffed animals counted as adequate nightlights. The apartment was quiet in that fragile way that single parents learn to treasure, the kind of silence that could shatter with a single cough or bad dream. Noah dried his hands on a dish towel and picked up his phone, expecting a message from his sister, or maybe a notification about Lily's upcoming school field trip. What he found instead made him pause mid-motion, water still dripping from his fingertips. Victoria Hale. I need help. Are you available? He stared at the screen. Victoria Hale didn't text him. She was his boss, the director of operations at Meridian Consulting, where Noah had worked as a senior financial analyst for the past 4 years. Their communication existed strictly within the bounds of office hours and professional necessity: budget reports, project deadlines, the occasional question about quarterly projections. This was neither professional nor expected. Noah glanced toward Lily's bedroom door, then back at his phone. His thumb hovered over the keyboard. Noah, is everything okay? The response came immediately. Victoria. Blind date from hell. Family setup. Can't get out without causing a scene. Could you call and pretend there's an emergency? Noah read the message twice. He could picture Victoria sitting across from some carefully vetted candidate her family had chosen, wearing that polite smile she used in meetings when someone pitched a terrible idea. He'd seen that smile enough times to recognize the frustration behind it. He typed quickly. Noah, where are you? Victoria. Marcello's on 5th. Please, I'll owe you. Noah looked at the clock. His neighbor, Mrs. Chen, was still awake. He could see her television flickering through the thin walls. She'd watched Lily before during emergencies. This wasn't exactly an emergency, but something about Victoria's message felt urgent in a way that had nothing to do with business. He was already reaching for his jacket. 10 minutes later, after a hurried conversation with Mrs. Chen and a quick check on Lily, Noah was in his aging Honda headed downtown. Marcello's was the kind of restaurant that required reservations weeks in advance, where the bread came with 3 types of butter and the wine list was thicker than most novels. Noah had never eaten there. He'd never had reason to. He parked 2 blocks away and walked quickly, the autumn air sharp against his face. Through the restaurant's tall windows, he could see the warm glow of candlelight and the careful choreography of servers moving between white-clothed tables. He pulled out his phone. Noah. I'm outside. What's the plan? Victoria. Call me, loud enough that he can hear. Something that requires me to leave immediately. Noah took a breath and dialed her number. It rang once. Noah? Victoria's voice came through slightly strained, like she was already bracing for bad news. Is everything all right? I'm so sorry to bother you. Noah pitched his voice with just enough urgency. There's been a situation at the office. The servers went down and were locked out of the Carmichael presentation. It's due Monday morning, and without access to the files, I understand. Victoria cut him off smoothly. I'll be there as soon as I can. I really apologize for the timing. It's fine. These things happen. There was a pause, and Noah heard the muffled sound of her excusing herself. I'm leaving now. The call ended. Noah waited, hands shoved in his jacket pockets, watching the restaurant entrance. Less than 3 minutes later, Victoria emerged, moving quickly past the valet station. She spotted him immediately, and her shoulders dropped with visible relief. She was wearing a dark blue dress that Noah had never seen before. Nothing like her usual office attire. Her hair was down instead of pulled back in its typical neat arrangement. For a moment, she looked like someone completely different from the woman who ran their department with efficient precision. "Thank you." She stopped in front of him, breathing hard like she'd been holding her breath for the past hour. "Thank you so much." "That bad?" He spent 45 minutes explaining his investment portfolio. Victoria closed her eyes briefly, and then asked if I wanted to hear about his cars. Plural. Noah couldn't help it. He laughed. "Your family set that up?" "My mother." Victoria started walking, and Noah fell into step beside her. "She means well. She just thinks that success and compatibility are the same thing." They reached his car and Victoria stopped, seeming to notice it for the first time. She glanced at Noah, then at the Honda with its slightly dented bumper and faded paint. "I can call you a car," Noah offered. "If you'd rather—" "No." She shook her head firmly. "Please, I just need to be anywhere else." Noah unlocked the doors and they both got in. The interior smelled faintly of the vanilla air freshener Lily had insisted on, and the coffee Noah always spilled on his morning commute. Compared to Marcello's refined atmosphere, it felt almost aggressively ordinary. He started the engine and pulled into traffic, very aware of Victoria sitting in his passenger seat, her expensive dress contrasting sharply with his car's worn upholstery. "Where to?" he asked. Victoria was quiet for a moment. "I don't know, I just couldn't sit through another minute of that dinner." "There's a diner about 10 minutes from here," Noah suggested carefully. "Nothing fancy, but they have good pie." "That sounds perfect." They drove in silence, the city lights sliding past the windows. Noah kept his attention on the road, but he could feel Victoria gradually relaxing, her breathing evening out. "I didn't mean to drag you out on a Friday night," she said finally. "I'm sure you had better things to do." "I was washing dishes." Noah glanced at her briefly. "This is definitely more interesting." Still, Victoria turned slightly in her seat. "I could have just left. Made an excuse." "Could you have?" She considered this. "No, not without seeming rude, and my mother would hear about it, and then there'd be questions and concerns and another setup because clearly I don't know what's good for me." There was something raw in her voice, a frustration that Noah recognized. He knew what it felt like to have your life shaped by other people's expectations. The diner was exactly as Noah remembered. Bright fluorescent lights, vinyl booths, and a laminated menu that advertised breakfast all day. They slid into a booth near the back, and a tired-looking waitress brought them coffee without being asked. "Pie?" she asked, pencil poised over her notepad. "Apple," Victoria said. "Please." "Make it 2, Noah added. The waitress nodded and disappeared. Victoria wrapped her hands around her coffee mug, staring down into the dark liquid. "I appreciate this," she said quietly. "The rescue. The pie. All of it. It's just pie." "It's not." Victoria looked up at him, and Noah saw something in her expression he'd never seen at work, a kind of weariness that went deeper than long hours and difficult projects. "It's being treated like a person instead of a problem to solve." Noah didn't know what to say to that. He'd always seen Victoria as supremely capable, someone who commanded respect effortlessly. The idea that she felt like a problem to be solved seemed impossible. "Your family pushes these dates a lot?" he asked. "Every few months, and..." Victoria sighed. "They have a very specific vision of what my life should look like. Successful husband, impressive wedding, grandchildren on an acceptable timeline. The fact that I run a department and manage million-dollar accounts doesn't matter as much as whether I'm married." "That seems backwards." "It is backwards." She smiled slightly. "But they worry. In their minds, professional success without personal success is incomplete, and they've decided that I'm too focused on work to find someone on my own." The pie arrived, generous slices with ice cream melting on top. Victoria picked up her fork and took a bite, and her expression shifted to something close to bliss. "This is really good," she said, surprised. "Best pie in the city," Noah confirmed. "Lily and I come here sometimes on Saturdays." "Lily," Victoria set down her fork. "Your daughter. How old is she now?" 7. Just started 2nd grade. "I remember you mentioning her. You adjusted your schedule last year for school pickup." Noah nodded, oddly touched that Victoria remembered. Her mother isn't in the picture. It's just us. That must be hard. It is. Noah chose his words carefully, but it's also exactly what I want. She's the best part of every day. Victoria studied him for a moment, something shifting in her expression. You say that like you mean it. I do mean it. Most people in your position would focus on the challenges, the sacrifice. There's plenty of that too, Noah admitted, but the good outweighs it by a lot. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. The diner hummed with quiet activity around them, a couple sharing a milkshake at the counter, a group of teenagers laughing over plates of fries, a man reading a newspaper with his coffee. Can I ask you something? Victoria said finally. And you can tell me if it's too personal. Okay. Why did you say yes? When I texted, you could have just called and pretended to be somewhere else. You didn't have to actually come. Noah thought about this. About Lily asleep in her room, about Mrs. Chen agreeing to watch her with no questions asked, about the way Victoria's message had felt less like a request and more like someone reaching out in the dark, hoping someone would reach back. You asked for help, he said simply, and I could help. That seemed like enough reason. Victoria's eyes softened. That's remarkably kind. It's just decent. Noah. She leaned forward slightly. Decent is returning an email on time. What you did tonight was kind. There's a difference. Noah didn't know what to do with the way she was looking at him, like he'd done something significant instead of just driving across town. He focused on his pie, suddenly self-conscious. Well, he said eventually, I'm glad the pie lives up to the emergency. Victoria laughed, and the sound surprised him. It wasn't her office laugh, the one she used in meetings. This was genuine, unguarded. It absolutely does, she said, though I should probably get home before my mother starts calling to see how the date went. What are you going to tell her? Work emergency. Which is technically true. I did receive a work-related phone call that required my immediate attention. Your financial analyst has terrible timing. The worst, Victoria agreed, smiling, but extremely reliable in a crisis. They finished their pie and Noah drove Victoria back to Marcello's where her car was still parked. The restaurant was quieter now, winding down toward closing. Victoria gathered her coat and purse, then paused with her hand on the door handle. Noah, she said, thank you. Really, you didn't have to do this. I know. But you did anyway. Yeah. She held his gaze for a moment longer, something unspoken passing between them. Then she smiled, opened the door, and stepped out into the night. Noah waited until she was safely in her car before driving away. On the way home, he thought about the evening, the unexpected text, the rescue, the pie and coffee, and conversation that had felt nothing like talking to his boss. It felt like something else entirely. Mrs. Chen waved away his offer of payment when he picked up Lily, who had slept through his absence without issue. He carried his daughter back to their apartment, tucked her into bed, and stood in the doorway for a moment watching her sleep. This was his life. Work, routine, Lily. It was enough. It had to be enough. But as he got ready for bed, Noah found himself thinking about Victoria's smile in the diner, about the way exhaustion had fallen away from her face when she laughed, about being treated like a person instead of a problem to solve. He pushed the thoughts aside and went to sleep. The following Friday, Noah was in his office reviewing expense reports when his phone buzzed. Victoria. Another one. Can you believe it? Noah stared at the message. He typed carefully. Noah. Another blind date? Victoria. Mother struck again. This one is supposedly very cultured. We're at the art gallery downtown. I've been here 20 minutes and he's already mansplained 3 paintings to me. Despite himself, Noah smiled. Noah. Do you need another work emergency? Victoria, please, I'll take anything at this point. Noah glanced at the clock. It was 6:30. Lily was at a friend's house for a birthday party, not getting picked up until 8. He had time. Noah, give me 15 minutes. He saved his work, grabbed his jacket, and headed out. The art gallery was an easy drive, and Noah found parking on the street. This time he knew the routine. He called Victoria's number. Noah? Her voice was perfectly controlled, but he could hear the relief underneath. "I'm so sorry to interrupt," Noah said, "but we have a situation with the Brennan account. Some discrepancies in the numbers that need immediate attention." "I see." Victoria's tone shifted to all business. "How serious?" "Serious enough that I think you should look at it tonight. I'll be there within the hour." She paused. "Thank you for catching this." "Of course." Noah waited by his car. This time Victoria emerged from the gallery with another man trailing behind her, still talking. She said something polite, extracted herself gracefully, and walked toward Noah with quick, determined steps. "You're an angel," she said as soon as she was close enough. "A complete angel." "That bad?" "He told me I had an interesting interpretation of a Rothko." Victoria shook her head. "Like there's a correct way to interpret abstract art." Noah laughed. "Want to get pie again?" "God, yes." They drove to the diner, falling into the same booth as before. The same waitress brought them coffee and pie without needing to ask. Victoria kicked off her heels under the table and sighed deeply. "I think my mother's actively trying to torture me," she said. "She's probably just worried." "She's definitely worried, but her solution is to throw every eligible bachelor in the city at me and hope one of them sticks." Victoria took a bite of pie. "It's exhausting." "Have you told her to stop?" "Multiple times. She thinks I'm being too picky, that I'm letting my career get in the way of happiness." "Aren't you happy?" Victoria considered the question. "I'm successful. I'm respected. I have a good life." "That's not the same thing," Noah observed. "No." She looked at him across the table. "It's not." They talked for over an hour. About pressure and expectations. About the difference between what people wanted for you and what you wanted for yourself. About the ways success could feel hollow when you achieved it alone. Noah found himself sharing things he rarely discussed. How isolating single parenthood could be, how he sometimes felt like he was failing at everything, even when he was keeping all the pieces moving. Victoria listened with the same focused attention she brought to work, but softer somehow, without the armor of professional distance. "You're good at this," Victoria said as they were finishing their second cups of coffee. "At what?" "Listening, being present. Most people wait for their turn to talk." "Maybe I just don't have that much to say." "I don't think that's true." Victoria traced the rim of her mug with one finger. "I think you're careful about what you share, but when you do talk, it matters." Noah felt something shift in his chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with the coffee. He was suddenly very aware of how close they were sitting, how easy it would be to reach across the table. He pulled back instead, checking his watch. "I should get going," he said. "Lily's birthday party ends soon." "Of course." Victoria reached for her purse, but Noah waved her off. "I've got it." "Noah, it's pie. Not exactly breaking the bank." They drove back to the gallery in comfortable silence. When Victoria got out this time, she leaned back in through the open door. "Same time next week?" she asked, and there was something playful in her expression. "Are you planning another blind date?" "Knowing my mother? Probably." Noah smiled. "Then I guess I'll keep my Friday nights open." Victoria's answering smile stayed with him all the way to Lily's friend's house and through the weekend that followed. It became a pattern. Every week or two, Victoria would text about another setup. Every time, Noah would drop everything and show up with a manufactured emergency. And every time, they'd end up at the diner, talking until the waitress started giving them pointed looks about closing time. Noah told himself it was just helping out a colleague, that Victoria needed an escape and he happened to be available, that the conversations meant nothing more than two people finding common ground. But somewhere around the fourth rescue, Noah started checking his phone on Friday evenings, started hoping for that text, started planning his schedule around the possibility that Victoria might need him. He was careful not to examine this too closely. At work, nothing changed. Victoria was still his boss, still professional and competent and untouchable. They had meetings about budgets and presentations. She sent him assignments. He delivered reports. If anyone noticed that they occasionally made eye contact and smiled for no apparent reason, nobody mentioned it. But Friday nights became something else entirely. A space outside of hierarchy and roles where they could just be two people tired of pretending. On the seventh rescue, they didn't even bother with the diner. Victoria suggested a walk instead, and they ended up wandering through a park near the river, talking about everything and nothing while the city lights reflected on the water. "I should feel guilty about this," Victoria said at one point. "About what?" "Using you as my escape hatch. It's probably not fair." "I'm volunteering," Noah pointed out. "Still." She stopped walking, turning to face him. "These are the best conversations I have all week. Maybe all month, and they only happen because I keep running away from terrible dates. So stop going on terrible dates. And then what?" Victoria's expression was genuinely curious. "Tell my family to stop caring? Explain that I'd rather spend Friday nights talking to my financial analyst?" The words hung between them. Noah felt his pulse quicken. "Would that be so terrible?" he asked quietly. Victoria looked at him for a long moment. The park was mostly empty, just a few joggers and dog walkers in the distance. The autumn air was cool enough that Noah could see his breath. "No," Victoria said finally. "It wouldn't be terrible at all." She didn't move closer. Neither did Noah. But something had shifted, an acknowledgement of what they'd been carefully not naming for weeks. "I should get back," Victoria said, though she didn't move. "Early meeting tomorrow." "Right, me too." They walked back to where Noah had parked, slower than necessary. When they reached his car, Victoria hesitated with her hand on the passenger door. "Noah," she started, then stopped. "Yeah? Thank you for all of this, for showing up. Anytime." "I mean it." Her voice was serious now. "This matters. You matter." Noah swallowed hard. "Victoria." His phone rang, cutting him off. Lily's name flashed on the screen. He answered immediately. "Hey, sweetheart. Everything okay? I can't find Mr. Whiskers." Lily's voice was tight with pre-tears. "I looked everywhere and he's gone and I can't sleep without him." "Okay, honey. I'm on my way. Check under your bed one more time while I drive, okay?" "Okay." A small sniff. "Hurry, please." "I will. Love you." "Love you too." Noah ended the call and looked at Victoria apologetically. "Lost stuffed animal crisis." "Go." Victoria smiled, but there was something wistful in it. "Your daughter needs you." Noah hesitated one more second, then got in his car and drove home. He found Mr. Whiskers wedged behind Lily's dresser, returned him to her tearful embrace, and sat on the edge of her bed until she fell asleep clutching the worn rabbit. His phone was still in his pocket, warm and silent. He didn't pull it out, didn't check for messages, because whatever was happening with Victoria, whatever these Friday nights were becoming, it existed in a separate world from this one, from bedtime stories and lost stuffed animals and the life he'd built around his daughter. And Noah had learned long ago that some worlds weren't meant to intersect. 3 weeks passed without a rescue. Victoria stopped texting. At work, she was cordial but distant, their interactions returning to strictly professional boundaries. Noah told himself this was for the best, that the Friday night rescues had been heading somewhere unsustainable. But he missed it, missed her, missed the person he became in those conversations, someone interesting and present instead of just tired. Then on a Thursday afternoon, Victoria's assistant knocked on Noah's office door. "Ms. Hale would like to see you," she said. "When you have a moment." Noah saved his work and headed to Victoria's office, pulse jumping despite his attempts at calm. He knocked on her open door. "You wanted to see me?" Victoria looked up from her computer. She was wearing her work armor again, tailored suit, hair pulled back, expression neutral. "Close the door," she said. Noah did, then took the seat across from her desk. Victoria folded her hands on the desktop, and he noticed she wasn't wearing the ring she usually wore on her right hand. "I wanted to tell you in person," she said. "I'm seeing someone." The words hit Noah harder than they should have. He kept his expression neutral. "That's great," he managed. "Congratulations." "His name is Marcus Chen. He's a consultant my family introduced me to. Very successful. Very appropriate." Victoria's tone was flat. "We've been on 4 dates. My mother is thrilled." "Good. That's good." "Is it?" Noah met her eyes. "If you're happy, then yes." "I'm doing what makes sense," Victoria said carefully. What's expected? What doesn't complicate things? The implication was clear. Noah was a complication. These Friday nights were a complication. Whatever had been growing between them was something that needed to be shut down before it became impossible to ignore. I understand, Noah said, standing. Was there anything else? No. Victoria's voice was quiet. That was all. Noah left her office and made it back to his own before the weight of it hit him. He sat at his desk, staring at spreadsheets without seeing them, and wondered when exactly he'd let himself fall for someone completely out of reach. That night, after Lily was in bed, Noah pulled out his phone and deleted Victoria's number. Not because he was angry, but because having it there felt like holding on to something that was never his to begin with. He didn't expect to hear from her again, which made it all the more surprising when, 2 months later, on a Friday evening, his phone buzzed with a number he didn't have saved but recognized immediately. Unknown. I ended it. With Marcus. I just thought you should know. Noah stared at the message for a long time. Then he typed back. Noah. Are you okay? Victoria. Can we talk? Noah. Same diner? Victoria. Please? Noah made arrangements with Mrs. Chen, checked on Lily, and drove across town with his heart in his throat. Victoria was already there when he arrived, sitting in their usual booth with 2 cups of coffee already waiting. She looked different, tired maybe, but also lighter, like she'd set down something heavy. Hi, she said as Noah slid into the seat across from her. Hi. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Victoria spoke. He was perfect. On paper. Everything my family wanted. Successful, stable, appropriate. She wrapped her hands around her coffee mug. And I was miserable. Every date felt like an audition for a role I didn't want. Every conversation felt empty compared to... She stopped. Compared to what? Noah asked quietly. To this. Victoria gestured between them. To you. To talking about real things instead of performing being the right kind of successful. Noah's chest tightened. Victoria. I know this is complicated, she continued. I know there are 1,000 reasons why this doesn't make sense. You work for me, you have a daughter. My family would have opinions, HR would have opinions, everyone would have opinions. Yes, Noah said, they would. So tell me I'm wrong. Victoria's voice was almost pleading. Tell me that those Friday nights were just friendly conversations, that you don't think about me outside of work, that I'm making this into something it isn't. Noah couldn't, because every word she was saying was true. He did think about her outside of work. Those conversations had meant everything, and sitting here now with her looking at him like he might be the answer to a question she'd been afraid to ask, Noah couldn't pretend otherwise. You're not wrong, he said. Victoria released a breath she'd been holding. Okay, so where does that leave us? I don't know. Noah ran a hand through his hair. Everything you said is true. This is complicated, really complicated. But I haven't felt this alive in years, and that scares the hell out of me. They looked at each other across the diner table, the weight of confession hanging between them. Outside, the city moved on with its Friday night rhythm. Inside, everything had shifted. I don't know what happens next, Victoria said softly. Neither do I. But I know I don't want to keep pretending that seeing you at work is enough, that I can be professional and distant and act like these conversations don't matter. Noah thought about Lily, about stability and careful choices, about all the reasons he'd built his life around safety and routine. Then he thought about Victoria's smile in this booth, about being seen as a whole person instead of just a single father or an employee, about the way these Friday nights had felt like finally breathing after holding his breath for years. I can't promise this will be easy, he said. Lily comes first, always. And that means... I know what that means, Victoria interrupted gently. And I'm not asking you to change that. I'm just asking if there's room for this, for us. Whatever that looks like. Noah reached across the table. Victoria met him halfway, and their fingers intertwined. Yeah, he said. There's room. They sat like that for a long time, holding hands across cheap diner coffee, while the waitress smiled knowingly and left them alone. It wasn't a perfect beginning. It wasn't simple or uncomplicated, but it was real. And for Noah, that was enough. The first real date happened 3 weeks after that conversation in the diner. And it took Noah that long to arrange because coordinating childcare, work schedules, and the courage to actually call it a date required more planning than he'd anticipated. They agreed to meet at a small Italian restaurant in a neighborhood neither of them frequented, somewhere they were unlikely to run into colleagues or clients. Noah arrived first, nervous in a way he hadn't been since high school, and waited at a corner table while second-guessing every decision that had led him here. Victoria walked in exactly on time, wearing jeans and a simple sweater instead of her usual professional attire. Her hair was down, and she looked younger somehow, less like the director of operations and more like the woman who'd laughed over pie at midnight. "Hi," she said, sliding into the seat across from him. "Hi." Noah's mouth felt dry. "You look great." "So do you." Victoria picked up the menu, then set it down again without looking at it. "I'm nervous. Is that ridiculous? We've done this a dozen times. This is different." "Yeah." She smiled slightly. "It is." The waiter came and they ordered without really paying attention to what they were choosing. When he left, an awkward silence settled between them. Nothing like the easy conversation of their Friday night rescues. "This is weird," Victoria said finally. "Really weird." "We should stop calling it weird. That's not helping." Noah laughed and the tension broke slightly. "Okay, let's start over. Tell me about your week." "My week was long and boring and full of meetings that could have been emails." Victoria leaned forward. "But there was one interesting thing. Remember the Carmichael account? The one you supposedly had an emergency with during my very first rescue? The fake emergency? That one. Well, we landed it. The client signed yesterday. 3-year contract, full consulting package. That's huge. Congratulations." "Thank you." Victoria's eyes were bright. "And I keep thinking that if I'd stayed at that first terrible blind date, if you hadn't shown up, I would have been miserable for another 2 hours. But because you did show up, I went into Monday's pitch meeting relaxed instead of stressed, and that probably made the difference. I think you're giving me too much credit for your professional success." "Maybe. Or maybe having one good thing in your life makes everything else easier to handle." Noah felt warmth spread through his chest. "Is that what this is? A good thing?" "I hope so." Victoria's voice was soft. "I really hope so." Their food arrived and they ate slowly, falling back into the rhythm they'd established over months of diner conversations. Victoria told him about her family's reaction to her breakup with Marcus. Predictable disappointment mixed with renewed determination to find her someone suitable. Noah shared stories about Lily's second-grade adventures, including the incident with the hamster and the art project that had somehow ended up on the ceiling. "She sounds wonderful," Victoria said. "Lily, from everything you've told me." "She is. She's also exhausting and stubborn and asks about 300 questions before breakfast. I'd like to meet her, someday, if that's something you'd want." Noah set down his fork carefully. "That's a big step." "I know. I'm not saying now. I'm just saying that I see this going somewhere, that I want it to go somewhere." "So do I." Noah paused, choosing his words. "But I need you to understand what you'd be signing up for. Lily isn't just part of my life. She is my life. Every decision I make starts with what's best for her. That means last-minute cancellations when she's sick. It means my schedule revolves around school pickups and bedtimes. It means that no matter how much I care about someone, she comes first." "I understand that." "Do you?" "Because it's one thing to understand it theoretically. It's different when you're sitting in a restaurant waiting and I have to leave because there's a scraped knee or a bad dream or any of the 1,000 things that require immediate dad attention." Victoria reached across the table and took his hand. "Noah, I'm not asking you to change that. I wouldn't want you to. The way you love your daughter is part of who you are, and I'm not going to compete with that or resent it." People say that. Then reality hits. "Has that happened before?" Noah nodded slowly. "Once. About 2 years ago. I dated someone for 3 months. She said she understood about Lily, but every time I had to cancel plans or cut an evening short, there was this look, this disappointment. And eventually she sat me down and said I needed to find better balance, that I was using Lily as an excuse to avoid real commitment. That's horrible. It was honest. She wanted more than I could give her, and I couldn't blame her for that. I'm not her, Victoria said firmly, and I'm not going into this with expectations that you be anything other than who you are, which is a dedicated father who also happens to be someone I care about very much. Noah looked at their joined hands. I care about you too, more than I probably should, considering we work together, and this could get complicated. It's already complicated. We might as well be honest about it. They finished dinner and walked slowly to where they'd parked, neither of them ready for the evening to end. The night was cool and clear, the city sounds muted in this quieter neighborhood. Can I ask you something? Victoria said as they reached Noah's car. Sure. Why did you say yes that first night? Really? It wasn't just about helping a colleague. Noah considered lying, then decided Victoria deserved better. Because for 2 years I'd been watching you in meetings and thinking you were the most interesting person I'd ever worked with. And when you texted asking for help, it felt like maybe I could be someone you saw as more than just the guy who submits budget reports. Noah, I've always seen you as more than that. Have you? Yes. You're the person who actually reads the reports instead of just skimming for numbers. You ask questions that show you understand the bigger picture. And last year, when Thompson tried to take credit for your projection model, you didn't make a scene. You just quietly documented everything and let the truth speak for itself. You noticed that? I notice everything about you. Victoria stepped closer. I have been for a long time, but you were my employee and single father, and it seemed impossible. So I kept it professional and tried not to think about how much I looked forward to meetings where you'd be there. And now? Now I'm done pretending I don't want this. Noah closed the distance between them and kissed her. It was soft and tentative and perfect, and when they pulled apart, Victoria was smiling. That was worth waiting for, she said. Yeah, Noah agreed. It really was. They stood there for a moment longer, neither wanting to break the spell. Then Noah's phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Chen, letting him know Lily was asleep and everything was fine. I should get back, Noah said reluctantly. I know. Victoria kissed him once more, quick and sweet. Call me tomorrow? Definitely. Noah drove home with the taste of her still on his lips, feeling like the world had tilted slightly, but in a good way. When he got back to the apartment, Mrs. Chen was reading on his couch. Good date? She asked, eyes twinkling. Really good. About time. You've been walking around like a sad puppy for months. Noah laughed. Was it that obvious? To everyone except maybe you. Mrs. Chen gathered her things. She must be special. She is. After Mrs. Chen left, Noah checked on Lily, who was sprawled across her bed with Mr. Whiskers tucked under one arm. He adjusted her blanket and stood there for a moment, watching her sleep. This was his priority, his responsibility, his heart walking around outside his body. But maybe there was room for something else too, someone else. Maybe he didn't have to choose between being a good father and having something for himself. The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating. Over the next few weeks, Noah and Victoria fell into a careful routine. They kept things professional at work, though Noah caught her smiling at him across conference rooms more than once. Outside the office, they met when Noah could arrange childcare, stealing hours for dinners and walks and conversations that stretched until midnight. Victoria never complained when he had to cancel last minute because Lily had a fever or a school project crisis. She never pushed for more time than he could give. And slowly, carefully, Noah started to believe that maybe this could work. I think I'm ready, he said one evening as they sat on a bench by the river, watching the city lights reflect on the water. Ready for what? For you to meet Lily. Victoria turned to look at him. Are you sure? We don't have to rush this. It's not rushing. We've been doing this for almost 2 months, and if this is going to be real, then she should know who you are. What will you tell her? Noah had thought about this extensively. The truth, that you're someone I care about, someone I'm dating. 7-year-olds are pretty straightforward about these things. What if she doesn't like me? She will. Noah took Victoria's hand. But if she doesn't, we'll figure it out. Together. They planned it carefully. A casual Saturday afternoon at the park, followed by ice cream. Low pressure, easy to escape if things went badly. Noah told Lily the night before, sitting on the edge of her bed after stories. "Hey kiddo, I wanted to talk to you about something." Lily looked up from arranging her stuffed animals. "Am I in trouble?" "No, nothing like that. I just wanted to let you know that tomorrow at the park, someone is going to meet us there. A friend of mine named Victoria." "Like a play date?" "Sort of. She's a special friend. Someone I like spending time with." Lily considered this with the seriousness she brought to all important matters. "Is she your girlfriend?" Noah hadn't expected her to be quite that direct. "Yes, she is." "Does she know about Mr. Whiskers?" "I've told her about your rabbit, yes. And about how I don't like tomatoes, but I do like ketchup? That too." "Okay." Lily returned to her stuffed animals. "Can we still get ice cream?" "Absolutely." "Then I guess it's okay." Noah kissed the top of her head, marveling at the simplicity of 7-year-old logic. If ice cream was still involved, the situation was acceptable. Saturday arrived sunny and warm, perfect park weather. Noah dressed Lily in her favorite purple shirt and spent probably too long making sure the apartment was clean, even though Victoria wouldn't be coming over. Old habits. They arrived at the park first, and Noah pushed Lily on the swings while watching for Victoria. When she appeared, walking across the grass in jeans and a light jacket, Noah's heart did something complicated in his chest. "Is that her?" Lily asked. "Yeah, that's Victoria." "She's pretty." "She is." Victoria reached them and smiled, but Noah could see the nervousness in her eyes. "Hi." "Hi." Noah stepped back from the swing. "Victoria, this is Lily. Lily, this is Victoria." "Hi, Lily." Victoria crouched down to Lily's level. "Your dad has told me a lot about you." Lily regarded her seriously. "He told me about you too. You work together." "We do. He's very good at his job. He's good at making pancakes too. They're shaped like animals." "That sounds really fun. Do you like pancakes?" "I love pancakes." Lily seemed to accept this as sufficient credential. "Do you want to go on the slide with me?" Victoria glanced at Noah, who nodded encouragingly. "I'd love to." They spent the next hour at the playground. Victoria proved surprisingly game for climbing structures and going down slides, and Noah watched them together with a feeling he couldn't quite name. Lily was cautious at first, but Victoria didn't push, just followed Lily's lead and answered her endless questions with patience. The ice cream shop was crowded, and they had to wait in line. Lily held Noah's hand on one side and, after a moment's consideration, reached for Victoria's hand on the other. "You're tall," Lily announced. "I am. Is that okay?" "Yeah, you can reach stuff on high shelves. Dad has to use a stool sometimes." "I'm not that short," Noah protested, but he was smiling. They got their ice cream and sat at one of the outdoor tables. Lily swung her legs and focused on her chocolate cone with serious concentration, while Victoria and Noah exchanged glances that said this was going better than either had dared hope. "Can I ask you something?" Lily said, looking at Victoria. "Of course." "Are you going to marry my dad?" Noah choked on his ice cream. Victoria handled it better, though her eyes widened slightly. "I don't know," she said honestly. "We're still getting to know each other, but I like him very much." "Me too. He's the best dad ever." "I believe that." "And if you did marry him, would you live with us?" "Lily," Noah said, "maybe we should talk about this later." "It's okay." Victoria met Lily's curious gaze. "If that happened, yes, we'd probably live together, but that's a really big decision that wouldn't happen for a long time, and we'd all talk about it together first." "Would I get to keep Mr. Whiskers?" "Absolutely. Mr. Whiskers would definitely come too." Lily nodded, satisfied. "Okay. Can I go play on that climbing thing?" "Stay where I can see you," Noah called as she ran off, ice cream temporarily forgotten. When she was out of earshot, Noah turned to Victoria. "I'm so sorry. I didn't expect her to go straight to marriage." "Don't apologize. She's figuring out how this works. It's natural." "Still, that was a lot." "Noah." Victoria reached across the table for his hand. "I handled it fine. And honestly, the fact that she's thinking about these things means she's not scared of me being in your lives. That's good." You're really okay with this? With all of it?" "I'm more than okay." Victoria squeezed his hand. I'm happy. Genuinely happy. They watched Lily climb and jump and wave at them periodically to make sure they were paying attention. The afternoon sun was warm, and the park was full of families, and the whole scene felt impossibly normal in a way that made Noah's chest tight with gratitude. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For being patient with this. With us. For not running when things got complicated. Why would I run? This is the best thing that's happened to me in years. They stayed at the park until Lily's energy finally flagged, and she came back to the table yawning. Noah lifted her onto his lap, and she leaned against his chest, drowsy and sticky with melted ice cream. Did you have fun? Victoria asked. Yeah. Lily's voice was sleepy. You're nice. Can you come again next time? I'd like that very much. Noah carried Lily to the car while Victoria walked beside them. At his car, Lily was already half asleep in her car seat. Victoria stood on the sidewalk, backlit by the afternoon sun, and smiled. I'll call you later, Noah said. Please do. He kissed her quickly, aware of Lily's presence even though her eyes were closed. When he pulled away, Victoria was still smiling. She's wonderful, Victoria said. You've done an amazing job. I had good material to work with. Noah drove home with Lily dozing in the back seat and something warm and bright blooming in his chest. It had gone well, better than well. Lily had liked Victoria. Victoria had been natural and kind and hadn't tried to force anything. Maybe this could really work. That evening, after Lily was bathed and in pajamas, she climbed into Noah's lap on the couch. I like Victoria, she announced. Yeah? I'm glad. She didn't try to be my new mom or anything. She was just nice. She is nice. Very nice. Are you going to keep seeing her? I'd like to, if that's okay with you. Lily thought about this. Will you still have time for me? Noah's heart squeezed. He turned Lily to face him, making sure she could see his eyes. Lily, nothing and no one will ever be more important to me than you. You're my kid, my favorite person in the world. Victoria doesn't change that, and if I ever feel like I'm not spending enough time with you, I want you to tell me. Okay? Okay. Do you have any other questions? Can she come to my school play next month? Noah blinked, surprised by the leap. Do you want her to come? Yeah, I have a big part. The townsperson number 3. It's very important. Then I'll ask her. But Lily, even if Victoria and I keep dating, some things will still be just us. Like bedtime stories and pancake Saturdays. Those are our special things. And playground Sundays? And playground Sundays. Always. Lily hugged him tightly. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. So much. Later, after Lily was asleep, Noah called Victoria. How are you doing? She asked immediately. How did she seem after? Good. Really good. She said you were nice and that you didn't try to be her new mom. Of course not. She has a mom situation, even if her mom isn't around. I'm not trying to replace anyone. I know, and that's exactly why she liked you. Noah paused. She asked if you'd come to her school play next month. There was a brief silence. Really? Really? You don't have to if it's too much. I'd love to come. What day? They talked for another hour about everything and nothing. Victoria told him about her family's upcoming dinner, where she'd have to deflect more questions about her relationship status. Noah told her about Lily's latest school project involving far too much glitter. I'm falling for you, Victoria said suddenly. I know it's only been a couple of months, but I need you to know that. This isn't casual for me. It's not casual for me either. Good. Because I keep thinking about futures and possibilities and all these things I normally don't let myself think about. And it's terrifying, but also wonderful. I know exactly what you mean. They said goodnight reluctantly, and Noah went to bed feeling like his life was finally moving forward instead of just maintaining. The next few weeks settled into a new normal. Victoria came to Lily's school play and sat next to Noah, applauding enthusiastically for townsperson number 3. Lily started including Victoria in her stories about her day, mentioning her casually alongside teachers and friends. And Noah found himself thinking less about all the ways this could go wrong and more about all the ways it was going right. At work, they were scrupulously professional. But sometimes in meetings, Noah would catch Victoria's eye, and she'd smile in a way that was just for him, and it felt like carrying a secret that made everything else easier to bear. His sister Emma noticed during one of their weekly phone calls. "You sound different," she said. "Different how?" "Happy? Less exhausted? Are you sleeping better?" "Not really. Lily's been having nightmares about lost homework." "Then what is it?" Emma paused. "Oh my God, you're seeing someone." Noah couldn't help smiling. "Maybe." "Noah, that's amazing. Who is she? How did you meet?" "It's complicated. I've got time." So Noah told her about Victoria, editing some details but keeping the important parts. Emma listened without interrupting, which meant she was taking this seriously. "And Lily's met her?" Emma asked when he finished. "Yeah, they get along really well." "That's huge. You haven't introduced Lily to anyone since that disaster with Rachel." "This is different. Victoria understands that Lily comes first. She sounds perfect." "What's the catch?" "She's my boss." Emma whistled low. "Okay, that is complicated. Have you thought about what happens if this gets serious? Can you work together long-term while dating?" "I'm trying not to think that far ahead." "Noah, you have to think that far ahead. You have Lily to consider. You can't just see where things go." "I know, but for right now it's working, and I'm trying to let that be enough." Emma sighed. "Just be careful, okay? I want you to be happy. You deserve to be happy, but I also don't want you to get hurt, and the power dynamic there could get messy." "I know," Noah said again. "I'm being careful." But careful became harder to maintain as feelings deepened. 3 months turned into 4, then 5. Victoria integrated into their lives gradually, joining them for weekend breakfasts, helping Lily with school projects, becoming someone Lily asked for when she wasn't there. And Noah fell deeper with every small moment. Victoria reading to Lily in funny voices, Victoria bringing soup when Lily had the flu and staying even though she might get sick, Victoria learning to make animal-shaped pancakes that were lopsided but made Lily giggle. It was domestic and sweet, and everything Noah had stopped believing he could have. Until the Monday morning meeting where everything shifted. Noah arrived at the office that Monday to find an email from Human Resources requesting a meeting at 9 sharp. No explanation, just a calendar invite with the subject line reading, "Confidential Discussion." His stomach dropped even before he read the second email, the one from Victoria sent at 6 in the morning with only 3 words, "We need to talk." He went through the motions of starting his workday, but his mind was racing through possibilities. Someone had found out about them. Someone had reported them. The careful distance they'd maintained at work hadn't been enough. At exactly 9, Noah knocked on the HR director's door. Margaret Chen, no relation to his neighbor, was a woman in her 50s who'd been with the company for 20 years and had a reputation for being fair but inflexible when it came to policy violations. "Noah, come in. Close the door, please." He sat in the chair across from her desk, trying to keep his expression neutral. "I'll get straight to the point," Margaret said, folding her hands on her desk. "It's come to my attention that you may be involved in a personal relationship with Victoria Hale. Is that accurate?" There was no point in lying. "Yes." "How long has this been going on?" "About 5 months." Margaret nodded, making a note on the pad in front of her. "And you are aware of the company's policy regarding relationships between supervisors and direct reports?" "I am." "Then you know that this relationship represents a conflict of interest and a potential liability for the company. Ms. Hale has direct authority over your assignments, your performance reviews, your compensation. The power imbalance alone creates significant concerns." Noah had known this conversation was coming eventually. He just hoped for more time. "I understand. What happens now?" "That depends on several factors. How serious is this relationship? Is it ongoing? Are you planning to continue it?" Noah thought about Lily asking when Victoria would come over for pancakes again. About the way Victoria had held him last weekend when he'd broken down crying over the anniversary of his ex leaving. About waking up to good morning texts that made the day feel manageable. "It's serious," he said. "And yes, we're planning to continue." Margaret's expression softened slightly. "I appreciate your honesty. That makes this simpler. You have 3 options. 1, you can end the relationship. 2, one of you can transfer to a different department where there's no direct reporting line. Or 3, one of you can leave the company. Those aren't great options. No, they're not, but they're necessary. The company can't overlook this, Noah. If we did and something went wrong, if she promoted you over someone more qualified, if she gave you preferential treatment, if the relationship ended badly and affected your work, we'd be exposed to lawsuits and liability issues we can't afford. I've never asked Victoria for special treatment, and she's never given it to me. I believe you, but perception matters as much as reality in these situations. Other employees have already started to notice. Questions have been raised. We need to address this before it becomes a bigger problem. Noah's chest felt tight. Can I have time to think about it? You have until end of business Friday. That gives you 5 days to discuss it with Ms. Hale and decide what you want to do. Margaret's tone became less formal. For what it's worth, Noah, I've seen your work. You're talented and valuable to this company. And from what I understand, Victoria is equally invested in continuing this relationship. Whatever you decide, I hope you both land somewhere good. Noah thanked her and left the office, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under him. He made it back to his desk and stared at his computer screen without seeing it. His phone buzzed. Victoria, can you come to my office? Noah took the stairs instead of the elevator, needing the extra minute to compose himself. When he reached Victoria's floor, her assistant waved him through immediately. Victoria was standing by her window, looking out at the city. She turned when he entered and he saw the same tight expression he was probably wearing. They talked to you too, Noah said. It wasn't a question. At 7 this morning, Margaret called me at home. Victoria crossed her arms. How did they find out? Does it matter? I suppose not. She moved away from the window and leaned against her desk. She gave you the same 3 options? End it, transfer, or quit. Some choice. Noah, I'm not ending it, he said firmly. I need you to know that right now. Whatever we decide, I'm not walking away from this. Something in Victoria's expression cracked. I'm not either, but the other options aren't exactly simple. No, they're not. Noah ran a hand through his hair. Transferring would mean different departments, different floors. We'd barely see each other at work. And one of us quitting means starting over somewhere new colleagues, new projects, proving yourself all over again. They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of the situation settling around them. I have Lily to think about, Noah said quietly. I can't make decisions based only on what I want. She needs stability, security. My income supports both of us. I know, and that's why this isn't a simple choice. Victoria's voice was careful. If we're being practical, it makes more sense for you to transfer. I've been here longer. I have more seniority. Moving me would disrupt more projects. That's true. But I hate that the practical answer puts more burden on you, that you'd have to be the one to adjust, to start over in a new department where you don't know anyone. Noah thought about it. Thought about leaving the team he'd worked with for 4 years, the projects he knew inside and out, the comfortable routine he'd established. Then he thought about sitting across from Victoria in the diner that first night, feeling seen in a way he hadn't felt in years. It's worth it, he said. You're worth it. You can't know that yet. We've only been together 5 months. I know enough. Victoria closed the distance between them and took his hands. I don't want you to resent this, to resent me. If you transfer and it's harder, and you start thinking about how much easier things would have been if we just stayed professional, that's not going to happen. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Noah squeezed her hands. Victoria, I spent 2 years watching you across conference tables and thinking you were impossible. And then you texted me and everything changed. I'm not going back to that. I can't. So we tell Margaret you'll transfer? Let me think about it first. Talk to Lily. She deserves to know what's happening, especially if it affects our finances or schedule. Okay. Victoria pulled him into a hug and Noah held on tighter than necessary. I'm sorry. This is my fault. I'm the one in the position of power. I should have been more careful. We both should have been more careful, and we both decided it was worth the risk. They separated reluctantly, and Noah headed back to his desk. The rest of the day passed in a blur of emails and meetings he barely paid attention to. His mind was stuck on the choice in front of him, turning it over and over without finding an answer that didn't involve sacrifice. That evening, after Lily finished her homework, Noah sat her down on the couch. "Remember how we talked about me and Victoria dating?" he began. "Yeah, are you going to get married?" "We're not talking about that yet, but there's something else we need to discuss. At my work, there are rules about bosses dating people who work for them, and Victoria is my boss." "So you're in trouble?" "Not exactly, but we have to make some changes. I might need to move to a different part of the company, so Victoria isn't my boss anymore." Lily processed this with her characteristic seriousness. "Would you have a new boss?" "Yes." "Would they be nice?" "I hope so." "Would you still make the same money?" Noah was always surprised by how perceptive Lily could be. "Probably, maybe a little different, but not much." "And you'd still pick me up from school?" "Always. That part won't change." Lily leaned against him. "Then I think it's okay, as long as you're not sad." "I'm not sad, just figuring things out." "Does Victoria make you happy?" "She does, very happy." "Then you should keep her. New jobs are easier than new happy people." Noah kissed the top of Lily's head, marveling at 7-year-old wisdom. "When did you get so smart?" "I was always smart. You just don't always notice because you're busy being a grown-up." That night, Noah lay awake long after Lily fell asleep, staring at the ceiling and weighing his options. Transferring meant uncertainty, new challenges, potentially harder work or less interesting projects. But staying meant losing Victoria, going back to a half-life where he went through the motions but never felt fully alive. It wasn't really a choice at all. Tuesday morning, Noah requested a meeting with Margaret Chen. "I've made my decision," he said once they were seated in her office. "I'll transfer to another department." Margaret nodded, unsurprised. "Have you thought about where you'd like to go?" "I'm open to suggestions, wherever there's a need for someone with my skills." "Let me make some calls. There are a few possibilities." She made another note. "This won't be immediate. It'll take time to arrange the transfer, find the right fit, transition your current projects. Probably 6 to 8 weeks." "That's fine. And Noah, I want to be clear about something. This transfer isn't a punishment. You're not being demoted or pushed out. We'll make sure you land somewhere appropriate for your experience and skill level." "I appreciate that." "One more thing. Once the transfer goes through, the relationship with Ms. Hale will be acceptable from a company policy standpoint, but I'd still recommend discretion. Office relationships can be complicated even without direct reporting lines." "Understood." Noah left the meeting feeling lighter despite the uncertainty ahead. He'd made the choice. Now he just had to follow through. Victoria called him during lunch. "Margaret told me," she said. "Are you sure about this?" "I'm sure." "Noah, if you have any doubts, I don't. Stop trying to give me an out. I'm doing this." There was a pause. "Okay. Then thank you. For choosing this. For choosing us. Always." The next 6 weeks were strange. Noah worked on transitioning his projects while interviewing with different department heads. He ended up in strategic planning, a smaller team focused on long-term forecasting and corporate development. The work was different but interesting, and his new boss, Richard Morrison, was a quiet man in his 50s who seemed more interested in results than office politics. On Noah's last day in operations, Victoria took him to lunch at a restaurant far from the office. "How are you feeling about the move?" she asked over pasta. Neither of them was eating much of. "Nervous, hopeful, ready for it to be over so we can stop sneaking around." "We haven't been sneaking." "We've been careful. That's basically sneaking." Victoria smiled. "Fair point. Richard seems like a good guy." "He does. And the team is smaller, which might be nice. Less meetings, more actual work." "You'll do great. You always do." They finished lunch and walked back separately, maintaining the professional distance they'd perfected over the past weeks. But that Friday evening, after Noah's first week in strategic planning was complete, Victoria came over for dinner. Lily had insisted on helping make spaghetti, which resulted in sauce on the ceiling and noodles everywhere except the pot, but Victoria had laughed and helped clean up without complaint. They ate at Noah's small kitchen table, Lily chattering about her upcoming science fair project, while Victoria listened with genuine interest. After dinner, while Lily was in her room playing, Victoria and Noah sat on the couch together, her head on his shoulder. "This feels different," Victoria said quietly. What does? Being here. Knowing that we don't have to hide anymore. That it's actually allowed. We were never hiding from Lily. No, but from everyone else. And now we don't have to. She lifted her head to look at him. We can actually be together, publicly, like a real couple. We were a real couple before. You know what I mean? Noah did know. There was something freeing about not having to measure every interaction, not having to think twice before touching her hand in public or mentioning weekend plans at work. I want you to meet my family, Victoria said suddenly. Noah felt his stomach drop. Your family, the one that kept setting you up on blind dates? That one. Yes. Are you sure that's a good idea? No, but I'm tired of keeping you separate from that part of my life. And they're going to find out eventually. I'd rather it be on my terms. What are you going to tell them? About me? The truth. That you're someone I care about deeply, that we work together but in different departments now, that you're a single father raising an incredible daughter. The single father part isn't exactly what they were hoping for. I don't care what they were hoping for. I care about what I want. And I want you. Noah pulled her closer. When? Sunday dinner. Next week. If you're free. I'll make sure I'm free. They sat in comfortable silence until Lily emerged demanding bedtime stories. Victoria stayed to listen, sitting in the chair by Lily's bed while Noah read 3 chapters of the current book, doing all the voices. When Lily finally fell asleep, they tiptoed out together. You're really good at this, Victoria whispered in the hallway. At bedtime stories? At being a dad. At all of it. I'm making it up as I go. Aren't we all? The following week crawled by. Noah threw himself into his new projects, trying not to think too hard about meeting Victoria's family. But by Sunday afternoon, his nerves were frayed. He'd changed outfits 3 times before Lily had informed him that he looked fine in all of them, and to please just pick one. Mrs. Chen agreed to watch Lily for the evening, and Noah drove to Victoria's parents' house in the suburbs, with his hands gripping the steering wheel too tightly. Victoria met him at the door, looking beautiful and nervous in a navy dress. You came, she said, like she'd half expected him to bail. Of course I came. Are you ready for this? Absolutely not. Good. Me neither. She took his hand and led him inside. Victoria's family was gathered in a large living room that looked like something from a home design magazine. Her mother, Diane, was an elegant woman in her 60s who assessed Noah with sharp eyes. Her father, Robert, stood to shake his hand with a grip just slightly too firm. Her younger sister, Amanda, watched from the couch with undisguised curiosity. So you're the reason Victoria hasn't been accepting our introductions lately, Diane said, gesturing for everyone to sit. Mother, Victoria warned, it's a fair observation. We've been introducing her to suitable men for years, and suddenly she's unavailable, and now we know why. Noah kept his expression neutral. I'm Noah Miller. It's nice to meet you all. Noah works in finance, Victoria said, her hand finding his under the table. Strategic planning. He's been with Meridian for over 4 years. And you have a daughter? Robert asked. Yes, sir. Lily. She's 7. Where's her mother? Dad, Amanda interjected. Maybe we could not interrogate him immediately. It's fine, Noah said, though his chest felt tight. Lily's mother left when she was 6 months old. It's been just the 2 of us since then. Diane and Robert exchanged a look that Noah couldn't quite read. That must be difficult, Diane said finally. Raising a child alone. It has its challenges, but she's the best thing in my life. And you have time for a relationship on top of single parenthood and a demanding career? Robert's tone was skeptical. I make time for what's important. Is my daughter important? Dad, Victoria's voice was sharp now. That's enough. I'm just trying to understand what his intentions are. You've thrown away several perfectly good matches for someone who already has significant responsibilities that don't include you. Noah felt Victoria tense beside him, but he kept his voice calm. With respect, sir, I didn't ask Victoria to throw away anything. We didn't plan this, but we care about each other and we're trying to build something real. Real, Diane repeated. And what does real look like? Marriage? More children? What's the end goal here? Mother, we've been together 6 months. We're not planning a wedding. Then what are you doing? Because from where I'm sitting, this looks like a complicated situation with no clear future. Noah had spent years fielding judgment about being a single father, about his choices, about Lily's mother leaving. He'd developed a thick skin out of necessity. But sitting in this pristine living room while Victoria's parents questioned whether he was good enough for their daughter brought every insecurity rushing back. "You're right," he said quietly. "It is complicated. I come with responsibilities and limitations. I can't drop everything for spontaneous trips. I can't stay out late most nights. My daughter will always be my first priority. If that makes me unsuitable for Victoria, then you should tell her that. But it's not going to change." The room fell silent. Then Amanda started laughing. "I like him," she announced. "He doesn't pretend to be something he's not." "Amanda," Diane said sharply. "No, I'm serious. Every guy you've introduced Victoria to has been so polished and perfect and completely fake. This one actually seems real." "Real doesn't pay the bills," Robert said. "Actually, I do fine financially," Noah said, his patience wearing thin. "I support myself and my daughter comfortably. I'm not looking for Victoria to subsidize my life." "But you are looking for her to accept a ready-made family and all the complications that entails." "I'm looking for her to accept me, all of me, including the parts that are complicated, the same way I accept her." Victoria stood abruptly. "We're leaving." "Victoria, Buka." "No, Mother. What? We came here so you could meet Noah. You've met him, and you've been rude and judgmental and exactly what I expected." She turned to Noah. "I'm sorry. This was a mistake." Noah stood too. "Thank you for dinner," he said to Diane and Robert, maintaining courtesy even though his jaw was tight. "Amanda, it was nice to meet you." He followed Victoria out to the driveway where she was already halfway to her car, moving fast. "Victoria, wait." She spun around and he saw tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry. I knew they'd be difficult, but that was worse than I expected. The way they talked to you, it's okay. It's not okay. They treated you like you weren't good enough, like Lily was some kind of burden instead of a child you love. They're worried about you, I get it. Don't make excuses for them." Noah pulled her into a hug and felt her shake against him. "I'm not excusing them, but I understand where they're coming from. They want what's best for you. They just have a different idea of what that looks like. Their idea is wrong. Maybe, but it's coming from a place of caring about you." Victoria pulled back to look at him. "How are you not furious right now?" "I am, but I've had practice with people judging my life choices. Your parents aren't the first and they won't be the last. That doesn't make it okay." "No, but it makes it manageable." He wiped a tear from her cheek. "The question is, does their opinion change anything for you?" "What? No, of course not." "Then we're fine." "Noah, they basically said you weren't suitable for me, that our relationship is a complication without a future." "And what do you say?" Victoria was quiet for a moment. Then she kissed him hard enough that he stumbled back against his car. "I say they're wrong," she said when they broke apart. "I say this is the first relationship I've ever had where I feel like myself, where I don't have to perform or pretend or be the perfect daughter. I say, you're the best thing that's happened to me, and I don't care if it's complicated." Noah felt something settle in his chest. "Okay then." "Okay? Your parents don't approve. That's hard, but it doesn't change us." They stood in the driveway for a long moment, holding each other while the sun set behind Victoria's childhood home. "I should probably go back in," Victoria said eventually. "Have a conversation with them." "Want me to stay?" "No, this is something I need to do alone." She kissed him once more, gentle this time. "But thank you for coming tonight, for handling that with more grace than they deserved." "Call me later?" "Definitely." Noah drove home thinking about family and expectations and the price of choosing your own path. When he got back, Lily was already asleep and Mrs. Chen was reading on his couch as usual. "How'd it go?" she asked. "About as well as expected." "That bad, huh?" "They think I'm not good enough for her," Mrs. Chen snorted. "Then they're fools. That woman looks at you like you hung the moon. Does she? You really haven't noticed? Noah, she's crazy about you. Anyone with eyes can see it. After Mrs. Chen left, Noah sat in the quiet apartment and let himself feel everything he'd been holding back during dinner. The anger at being judged, the fear that Victoria's family might be right, the worry that his life was too complicated for someone as successful as her. His phone buzzed. Victoria. I told them that they can either accept you or lose me, that I'm done living my life according to their expectations, that you and Lily are part of my future and they need to make peace with that. Noah stared at the message, his throat tight. Noah. What did they say? Victoria. They need time to think, which is fine. I need time away from them anyway. Noah. I'm sorry it came to that. Victoria. I'm not. I should have done it years ago. I love you. Noah's breath caught. It was the first time she'd said it. Noah. I love you too. Victoria. Good. Because I'm coming over. Is that okay? Noah. Always. 20 minutes later, Victoria was at his door. He let her in and she went straight to his couch, curling up against him like she needed the contact to believe everything was real. Thank you for not running, she said quietly. I told you I wouldn't. I know, but tonight was a lot. Yeah, it was. They sat in silence, the weight of the evening settling around them. Outside, the city hummed with its usual Sunday night rhythm. Inside, Noah held Victoria close and thought about futures and families and the courage it took to choose love over expectation. It wasn't simple. It wasn't easy. But sitting there with Victoria in his arms, knowing what they'd both risked to be together, Noah couldn't imagine choosing anything else. Victoria fell asleep on Noah's couch that night, exhausted from the confrontation with her family. He covered her with a blanket and sat in the chair across from her, watching the steady rise and fall of her breathing. When morning came, she woke to find Lily standing beside the couch, staring at her with frank curiosity. You stayed over, Lily announced. Victoria sat up quickly, disoriented. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's okay. Dad said you had a hard night. Lily climbed onto the couch beside her. Do you want pancakes? Dad's making the giraffe ones. I'd love pancakes. They ate breakfast together, the three of them crowded around Noah's small kitchen table. Lily dominated the conversation with stories about her friend's new puppy and the injustice of having to learn multiplication tables. Victoria listened attentively, asking questions and laughing in all the right places, and Noah felt something shift in his chest watching them together. This could be his life, not just stolen moments and careful planning, but actual mornings and shared routines and the mundane intimacy of pancakes and school stories. After breakfast, Victoria helped Lily get ready for school while Noah cleaned up. When he came out of the kitchen, Victoria was braiding Lily's hair with surprising competence. Where'd you learn to do that? He asked. YouTube. Last week when you mentioned Lily wanted to try French braids. Victoria finished the braid and secured it with an elastic. How's that, Lily? Lily ran to the mirror and examined her reflection critically. It's really good. Can you teach my dad? His braids are always lumpy. Hey, Noah protested. I'm getting better. You're getting less bad, Lily corrected. That's different. Victoria laughed and Noah felt that shift again, that sense of pieces falling into place. He drove Lily to school with Victoria following in her own car. At the drop-off line, Lily hugged them both goodbye without thinking twice about it. Several other parents noticed, and Noah saw the questions forming in their expressions. Let them wonder, Victoria said, reading his mind. I'm done hiding. They went to work separately but met for lunch, eating sandwiches in the park near the office. Victoria told him that her mother had called that morning. What did she say? Noah asked. That she'd been thinking about what I said, that she wants to understand why you're so important to me. Victoria picked at her sandwich. I think that's progress. Maybe. Do you want me to talk to her? Try to smooth things over? No, she needs to come to this on her own. I'm not going to convince her you're worthy of me. She needs to see it herself. And if she doesn't? Victoria met his eyes. Then that's her loss, not ours. They finished lunch and walked back slowly, neither wanting to return to separate floors and the pretense of being just colleagues. At the building entrance, Victoria stopped. I've been thinking, she said, about what your neighbor said. About me looking at you like you hung the moon. Mrs. Chen talks too much. She's not wrong, though. Victoria stepped closer, close enough that Noah could smell her perfume. I do look at you like that, because you did something I didn't think was possible anymore. What's that? Made me believe that I could have both, the career and the relationship, the success and the person who sees past it. She touched his face gently. You don't care about my title or my salary or any of the things my family thinks matter. You just care about me. That's not entirely true. I care about your brilliant mind and your terrible taste in coffee. Victoria laughed. My coffee taste is sophisticated. You drink it black with 4 sugars. That's not sophisticated, that's concerning. Agree to disagree. She kissed him quickly, not caring who might see. I have a meeting, but dinner tonight? I'll cook. You always cook. Let me bring something. Victoria, you can't cook. I can order very effectively. That counts. Noah watched her walk into the building, this accomplished woman who'd chosen him despite every logical reason not to, and felt grateful in a way that made his throat tight. The weeks that followed settled into a new rhythm. Victoria became a regular presence at Noah's apartment, keeping a toothbrush in his bathroom and a change of clothes in his closet. Lily started setting 3 places at the table automatically. And Noah stopped questioning whether this was real and started accepting that maybe it was allowed to be. His new position in strategic planning turned out to be a good fit. Richard Morrison was hands-off in the best way, trusting Noah to manage his projects without micromanagement. The team was small and focused, and Noah found himself enjoying work in a way he hadn't in years. One afternoon, Richard called him into his office. I wanted to talk to you about something, Richard said, gesturing for Noah to sit. The company is opening a satellite office in Portland. They're looking for someone to lead the strategic planning division there. Set it up from scratch. Build a team. Establish protocols. Noah felt his stomach drop. That sounds like a big opportunity. It is. And I recommended you for it. Richard, I appreciate that, but I can't relocate. I have my daughter and her school, and I'm not asking you to relocate. Hear me out. Richard leaned forward. The position would be primarily remote with quarterly trips to Portland. You'd be based here, but managing the team there. It's a promotion, significant salary increase, and a chance to build something from the ground up. Noah processed this. Why me? Because in the 6 months you've been on my team, you've shown exactly the kind of strategic thinking and project management this role requires. You see the big picture without losing track of details. You communicate clearly, and you're not afraid to make hard calls when necessary. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. The position doesn't start for another 3 months, so you have time to consider. Richard smiled slightly. And to discuss it with Victoria. Noah's head snapped up. You know about that? I know a lot of things, including the fact that you transferred out of operations specifically to continue the relationship without policy conflicts. Richard's expression was knowing but not unkind. For what it's worth, I think you made the right choice, both in the transfer and in the relationship. Thank you, I think. Just think about Portland. It's a good opportunity, and sometimes taking a risk pays off better than playing it safe. Noah left the meeting with his mind racing. A promotion, more money, which would mean better stability for Lily, the chance to build something new, but also more responsibility, more pressure, and quarterly trips away from home. He needed to talk to Victoria. That evening, after Lily was in bed, Noah and Victoria sat on his couch with glasses of wine. He'd been quiet through dinner, and she'd noticed. What's going on? She asked. You've been somewhere else all night. Noah told her about Richard's offer. Victoria listened without interrupting, her expression thoughtful. That's incredible, she said when he finished. Building a division from scratch? That's huge, Noah. It's also a lot. More travel, more responsibility, and I'd be working remotely most of the time, which means less structure. But more flexibility, too. You could work from home more, be here when Lily gets out of school. Maybe. Or maybe I'd be working longer hours trying to prove myself in a new role. Victoria set down her wine glass. Do you want the job? I don't know. Part of me does. It's everything I should want. More money, more responsibility, a chance to really make an impact. But, But I've spent the last 7 years prioritizing stability over ambition, playing it safe for Lily's sake. And this doesn't feel safe. Safe isn't always better. Noah looked at her. You sound like Richard. Maybe Richard's right. Maybe it's time to take some risks. She took his hand. What's the worst that could happen? I could fail, take on too much and not be able to handle it. Let down the team I'm supposed to be building. Or you could succeed, build something incredible. Show Lily that taking calculated risks can lead to amazing things. You really think I should do it? I think you should seriously consider it. You're talented, Noah. You've been hiding that behind steady paychecks and safe choices. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You had good reasons. But maybe it's time to stop hiding. Noah thought about this, about years of choosing the path of least resistance, of never pushing for more because more meant risk and risk meant potential instability for Lily, about watching Victoria command meeting rooms and thinking he could never do the same. I'm scared, he admitted quietly. Of course you are. Big changes are scary, but you don't have to do this alone. You have me and Lily. And apparently Richard thinks you're capable of this, or he wouldn't have recommended you. What if it changes things between us? More travel, less predictable schedule? Then we'll adapt. Noah, we've already proven we can handle complicated. This is just a different kind of complicated. They sat in silence for a while, Victoria's head on Noah's shoulder. Outside, the city hummed with late evening traffic. Inside, Noah felt the weight of a decision that could change everything. I'll think about it, he said finally. Good. That's all anyone's asking. The next morning, Noah woke to find a text from Victoria sent at 6 a.m. Victoria, whatever you decide about Portland, I'm with you. Just wanted you to know that before the day gets crazy. He smiled and typed back. Noah, thank you. That helps more than you know. At work, Noah found himself paying more attention to how Richard managed the department, how he delegated, how he handled conflicts, how he balanced big-picture strategy with day-to-day operations. If Noah took the Portland position, this would be his responsibility, building not just projects, but a whole team culture. That afternoon, he had lunch with his sister Emma, who'd driven in from the suburbs to meet him. So let me get this straight, Emma said over salads she'd insisted they order. They want you to build an entire strategic planning division in Portland while staying based here? Essentially, yes. And you're hesitating why exactly? Because it's a lot of responsibility. Because I'd have to travel quarterly. Because I'd be stepping way outside my comfort zone. Emma pointed her fork at him. Noah, you've been in your comfort zone for 7 years. It served you well. But Lily's getting older. She's not a baby anymore. Maybe it's time to show her that you're not just a guy who plays it safe. I'm not just playing it safe. I'm being responsible. Those aren't mutually exclusive. You can be responsible and ambitious. You can provide stability and still take opportunities. Emma softened her tone. Look, I get it. After Sarah left, you went into survival mode. Keep your head down. Keep things steady. Don't rock the boat. But you're not just surviving anymore. You're actually living. You have Victoria. You have a job you're good at. Lily's thriving. Maybe it's okay to want more. What if I fail? What if you succeed? What if you build something amazing and show Lily that her dad is capable of incredible things? Emma reached across the table and squeezed his hand. You've spent so long being afraid of failing her, but the only way you'd really fail is by not even trying. Noah sat with that for the rest of the day. By evening, he'd made his decision. He called Richard at home, which felt presumptuous but necessary. I'll do it, Noah said when Richard answered. The Portland position, I'm in. I'm glad to hear it. You won't regret this, Noah. I hope you're right. I am. Now get some sleep. We'll start the transition process next week. Noah hung up and stared at his phone for a long moment. He'd done it. Committed to something that terrified him. Chosen ambition over safety for the first time in years. He called Victoria next. I said yes to Portland, he told her. Noah, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you. I'm terrified. Good. That means it matters. When do you start? Officially, 3 months. But Richard wants to start planning next week. We should celebrate. Let me take you and Lily to dinner this weekend. You don't have to. I want to. This is a big deal. It deserves celebration. That Saturday, Victoria made reservations at a nice restaurant that still had a kids' menu. Lily dressed up in her favorite dress and brought Mr. Whiskers because, as she explained seriously, he'd never been to a fancy restaurant before. Over pasta and breadsticks, Victoria raised her glass of wine. "To Noah," she said, "for taking a leap." "To Dad," Lily echoed with her Shirley Temple, "for being brave, even when he's scared." Noah looked at these two people who'd become his whole world and felt emotion clog his throat. "To family," he managed, "however we define it." They clinked glasses, and Noah caught Victoria's expression, soft and full of something that looked like forever. The transition to this new role consumed the next few months. Noah spent his days in meetings with HR about hiring processes, with IT about remote infrastructure, with Richard about strategic vision. He interviewed candidates for the Portland team via video call, learning to read people through screens and spotty connections. Victoria was there through all of it, listening to him process decisions and offering perspective when he got stuck in his own head. She never tried to solve his problems, just helped him think through them more clearly. One evening in late October, after a particularly long day of interviews, Noah came home to find Victoria and Lily in his kitchen attempting to bake cookies. The kitchen was a disaster, flour everywhere, eggshells on the counter, something burning in the oven. "We're making you celebration cookies," Lily announced proudly, "for your new job." "They were supposed to be chocolate chip," Victoria added, opening the oven to reveal what looked like charcoal. "I think we miscalculated something." Noah laughed, really laughed, for the first time all week. "You think?" "Don't be mean. We tried." "You definitely tried." Noah surveyed the damage. "How about we order pizza and try cookies another time?" "That seems wise," Victoria agreed. They cleaned up the kitchen together while waiting for pizza, Lily providing running commentary on why baking was much harder than it looked in videos. Noah kept catching Victoria's eye and smiling, and she'd smile back, and it felt impossibly domestic in the best way. After dinner, while Victoria was reading to Lily, Noah stepped out onto his small balcony. The city stretched out before him, lights twinkling in the growing darkness. He thought about where he'd been a year ago, lonely, stuck in routine, watching Victoria across conference rooms and thinking she was impossible. Now she was in his daughter's bedroom reading fairy tales in silly voices. Now he was about to start a job that both excited and terrified him. Now his life looked nothing like the safe, predictable existence he'd built, and everything like the messy, wonderful reality he'd never let himself want. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. "This is Diane Hale, Victoria's mother. I'd like to speak with you. Are you available for coffee this week?" Noah stared at the message, his good mood evaporating. He hadn't heard from Victoria's parents since that disastrous dinner 3 months ago. Victoria had mentioned they were working on accepting the relationship, but Noah had assumed that meant polite distance at best. He showed the text to Victoria when she came out of Lily's room. "She wants to meet with me," he said. "Alone." Victoria's expression tightened. "You don't have to say yes." "I know, but maybe I should. Clear the air." "Noah, my mother can be very persuasive and very cutting. I don't want her to make you feel like you're not good enough." "I've survived worse than your mother's judgment." "That's not the point. The point is you shouldn't have to." Noah pulled her close. "Let me try. Worst case, she's still convinced I'm wrong for you and nothing changes. Best case, maybe we find some common ground." "There's no common ground. She thinks you're a complication." "Then I'll show her I'm a complication worth having." Victoria looked at him for a long moment, then kissed him softly. "You're braver than I am." "I'm really not. I'm just tired of other people's opinions dictating our relationship." He texted Diane back, agreeing to coffee on Wednesday. The intervening days felt longer than they should have. Noah's mind running through potential conversations and preparing for every possible criticism. Wednesday arrived cold and gray, threatening rain. Noah met Diane at a coffee shop in a nice part of town, the kind of place that served $8 lattes and had furniture that looked uncomfortable but expensive. Diane was already there when he arrived, sitting at a corner table with a cup of tea. She stood when she saw him, and Noah was reminded again how much Victoria looked like her mother. "Thank you for meeting me," Diane said, her tone formal. "Of course." Noah ordered coffee and joined her at the table. They sat in awkward silence for a moment, then Diane spoke. I owe you an apology for the way we treated you at dinner. It was unkind and unfair. Noah hadn't expected that. Thank you, I appreciate you saying that. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I wanted you to know that I've been thinking about that evening, about what you said, about your daughter always being your first priority. Diane wrapped her hands around her teacup. My husband and I, we've always wanted the best for Victoria, but we confused best with easy. We thought if we could just find her someone successful and stable, someone who fit neatly into the life we envisioned for her, she'd be happy. And now? Now I see that she is happy, happier than I've seen her in years, and it's because of you. Diane met his eyes. I still have concerns about the complications of your situation, about whether Victoria understands what she's signing up for, but I can't deny that you make her happy in a way those other men never did. Noah processed this carefully. I love your daughter, and I know that my life is complicated, but I'm not asking her to fix my complications or manage them for me. I'm asking her to share them. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I sit, she's taking on a lot. A relationship where she'll always come second to your child. A partner who has limited time and flexibility. The judgment that comes with dating a single father. You're right about some of that. Lily does come first. And yes, that means I have less flexibility than someone without kids. But Victoria isn't settling by being with me. She's choosing what makes her happy instead of what makes other people comfortable. Diane was quiet for a moment. She told us we could accept you or lose her. Did she tell you that? Yes. And how did that make you feel? Noah considered the question. Grateful. And terrified. Because the stakes are even higher when someone's willing to cut off their family for you. But you didn't ask her to back down, to smooth things over or make peace. No, because that wouldn't have been real peace. It would have been Victoria pretending to be fine with your disapproval while quietly resenting all of us. Diane smiled slightly. You understand my daughter well. I try to. What are your intentions? Long term? I intend to love her, to show up even when it's hard, to build a life with her if she'll have me. Noah paused. And eventually, yes, I'd like to marry her. But that's a conversation Victoria and I need to have first before we discuss it with anyone else. You're more direct than the men we usually introduce her to. I don't have time for games. Life's too short and I have too many actual responsibilities to waste energy on pretending. Diane studied him over her teacup. I can see why Victoria likes you. You're honest. That's refreshing. Is that enough? For you to accept this relationship? I'm working on it. I won't pretend I don't still have reservations, but I'm trying to trust that Victoria knows what she needs better than I do. Diane set down her cup. My daughter is strong-willed and intelligent. She doesn't make decisions lightly. If she's chosen you, then you must be worth choosing. It wasn't exactly a ringing endorsement, but it was more than Noah had expected. Thank you for saying that. Don't thank me yet. I still expect you to treat her well, to prioritize her even with your other obligations, to be worthy of the choice she's made. I plan to spend the rest of my life being worthy of that choice. They finished their coffee, making careful small talk about the weather and Noah's new position. When they parted, Diane shook his hand with something approaching warmth. Tell Victoria I'd like to have lunch with her, alone. There are things we need to discuss. I will. Noah drove back to work feeling lighter than he had in months. It wasn't perfect acceptance, but it was progress. And sometimes progress was enough. That evening, he told Victoria about the meeting. She apologized, Victoria said, sounding stunned. My mother actually apologized? She did. And she wants to have lunch with you. What did you say to her? The truth. That I love you and I'm not going anywhere and she can either accept that or not, but it won't change anything between us. Victoria kissed him hard enough that he stumbled backward against the kitchen counter. You're incredible. You know that? I'm really not. I just care about you enough to have uncomfortable conversations with your mother. That's literally the definition of incredible. They stood in the kitchen holding each other while Lily played in the next room, and Noah thought about how far they'd come, from fake emergencies and secret dinners to this. standing in his kitchen, planning a future together despite every obstacle. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't simple, but it was real, and that made it worth everything. Victoria's lunch with her mother happened the following week, and Noah spent those hours trying not to check his phone every 5 minutes. He was in the middle of a video interview with a potential hire for Portland when Victoria finally texted. Victoria: "It went better than expected. She's trying, really trying." Noah excused himself from the interview for a moment to respond. Noah: "That's good, really good." Victoria: "She asked about your new job, about Lily. She's making an effort." Noah: "Progress." Victoria: "Yeah, progress." That evening, Victoria came over looking lighter than Noah had seen her in months. She'd stopped by the store and brought ingredients for a proper dinner, insisting that they needed to celebrate small victories. "What did your mother actually say?" Noah asked while Victoria chopped vegetables with more enthusiasm than skill. "She said that she'd been wrong, that she'd been so focused on finding me someone who looked right on paper that she hadn't considered whether they'd actually be right for me." Victoria paused her chopping. "And she said that watching you stand up to her at coffee made her realize that maybe I needed someone with a backbone instead of someone who'd just agree with whatever my family wanted. I'm glad she's coming around." She also asked about Lily, wanted to know what she was like, what she enjoyed, whether she was doing well in school. Real questions, not polite questions. Noah felt something warm settle in his chest. "What did you tell her?" "The truth. That Lily is smart and funny and asks a million questions, that she's obsessed with animals and wants to be a veterinarian this week and an astronaut next week, that she's the best part of both our days." Victoria turned to face him fully. "And I told her that if she wants to be part of my life going forward, she needs to accept that Lily is part of it too, that you two come as a package." "How did she take that?" "She said she'd like to meet Lily, properly. Not at some awkward family dinner, but maybe something casual where Lily wouldn't feel pressured." Noah processed this. "That's a big step." "I know, and we don't have to do it if you're not comfortable. If it's too soon or too much, no, I think it's good. I want Lily to know your family, to feel like she belongs in all parts of your life." They finished cooking together, making a mess of Noah's kitchen, but producing something that actually resembled dinner. Lily emerged from her room where she'd been doing homework and surveyed the table with approval. "This looks fancy," she said. "Are we celebrating something?" "Just a good day," Victoria told her. "Sometimes that's worth celebrating." Over dinner, Lily talked about her science project on ecosystems while Victoria listened with genuine interest, asking questions that showed she'd actually retained information from previous conversations. Noah watched them together and thought about how seamlessly Victoria had integrated into their lives, how natural it felt to have her here. After Lily went to bed, Noah and Victoria cleaned up the kitchen together in comfortable silence. When the last dish was put away, Victoria turned to him with an expression he couldn't quite read. "I've been thinking about something," she said. "What's that?" "My lease is up in 2 months, and I've been spending so much time here that my apartment barely feels lived in anymore." She paused. "What would you think about me moving in? Officially." Noah's heart did something complicated. They'd been dancing around this possibility for weeks, Victoria leaving more and more belongings at his place, staying over most nights. But making it official was different. "Have you thought about what that would mean?" he asked carefully. "This apartment is small. Lily's stuff takes up a lot of space. You'd be giving up your own place, your own space." "Noah, I know what I'd be giving up. I also know what I'd be gaining." Victoria stepped closer. "I want to wake up here every morning. I want to be here for school pickups and bedtime stories and all the regular moments that make up a life. I want this to be home." "What about work? The commute from here is longer for you." "I'll adjust, or we'll figure something out." "Noah, stop looking for reasons why this won't work and just tell me if you want this." Noah pulled her close, breathing in the familiar scent of her perfume. "I want this. I want you here. I've wanted it for a while but didn't know how to ask." "So that's a yes?" "That's absolutely a yes." They told Lily the next morning over the animal pancakes Victoria had finally mastered. Lily's reaction was characteristically direct. "Does this mean you'll be here every morning?" "Yes," Victoria said. "Is that okay with you?" Lily considered this seriously. Will you have your own room or share Dad's room? Noah choked on his coffee. Victoria handled it with more grace. I'll share your dad's room, if that's all right with you. That's fine, but I get to help you decorate. Dad has terrible taste and everything is boring. Hey, Noah protested. My taste is practical. Boring, Lily repeated firmly. Victoria, we need to get better curtains and maybe some plants. Real ones, not plastic. I think that can be arranged. Over the next few weeks, Victoria gradually moved her belongings into Noah's apartment. Her books filled the empty shelves Noah had never gotten around to decorating. Her dishes mixed with his in the cabinets. Her clothes took over half the closet, and suddenly the bathroom counter had more products than Noah had known existed. It was crowded and chaotic and absolutely perfect. Noah's job transition continued to consume his weekdays. He hired a team for Portland remotely, conducting endless video interviews and onboarding sessions. His first trip to Portland was scheduled for early December, just a few days to meet everyone in person and set up the office space. The night before he left, Noah tucked Lily into bed with extra care. I'll be back on Friday, he promised, and Mrs. Chen will be here with you, and Victoria will come over every evening after work. I know, Dad. I'm not a baby. I know you're not, but I've never been away from you for this long before. Lily sat up and hugged him tightly. I'll miss you, but I'm proud of you for your new job. When did you get so grown up? I've always been grown up. You just don't always notice. Noah laughed and kissed her forehead. I'll call you every night before bed, okay? Okay. And bring me back something cool from Portland. Maybe something with their soccer team. The flight to Portland the next morning was Noah's first time on a plane in years. He spent most of it reviewing presentation materials and trying not to think about how strange it felt to be away from Lily. Victoria texted him updates throughout the day, photos of Lily after school, videos of them making dinner together. Victoria, we made spaghetti. There's sauce on the ceiling again, but we're calling it abstract art. Noah, you two are a disaster in the kitchen. Victoria, a happy disaster. Stop worrying, we're fine. The Portland team exceeded Noah's expectations. They were young and enthusiastic, full of ideas about how to build the division from scratch. Noah spent 3 intense days in meetings and planning sessions, shaping strategy and establishing protocols. It was exhausting and exhilarating in equal measure. On his last evening there, Richard called him. How's it going? Richard asked. Better than I expected. The team is solid. We might actually pull this off. Of course you will. I wouldn't have recommended you if I thought otherwise. Richard paused. How's it feel? Being in charge of something this big? Noah thought about it. Terrifying, but in a good way. Like I'm finally doing something that matches my actual capabilities instead of playing it safe. That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say. You've been underestimating yourself for years, Noah. It's good to see you stepping up. When Noah got back to his hotel room, he video called home. Victoria answered with Lily's head visible over her shoulder. Dad! Lily's face filled the screen. How's Portland? Did you bring me something? I did. It's a surprise. Noah smiled at them both. What did you two do today? We went to the park after school, and Victoria taught me how to do a cartwheel. Well, she tried to teach me. I'm not very good yet. I'm sure you'll get it with practice. Victoria took the phone back. How are you doing, really? Tired, ready to come home, but good. This job is everything I hoped it would be. I'm so proud of you. I miss you both. We miss you too, but we're managing. Lily's been teaching me all her favorite shows, and I've learned more about cartoon characters than I thought possible. They talked for another half hour before Lily's bedtime. After Victoria had tucked her in, she took the phone into Noah's room, their room now, Noah reminded himself, and curled up on the bed. It's strange being here without you, she said quietly. The apartment feels wrong. I'll be home tomorrow night. I know, I'm just saying I don't like it when you're gone. Me neither, but this is part of the job. Quarterly trips. I know, and I knew that going in. I'm not complaining, just stating facts. Victoria smiled slightly. Lily asked me today if we were going to get married. Noah's heart jumped. What did you tell her? That I hoped so. That it was something you and I needed to talk about first, but that I'd very much like to marry her dad someday. And what did she say? She said good, because she wanted to be a flower girl and wear a fancy dress. Then she asked if we could have a cake shaped like a unicorn. Noah laughed. Of course that's what she'd focus on. She's 7. Cake is a reasonable priority. Victoria's expression grew more serious. But the question stands, is that something you want? Marriage? Yes. Absolutely yes. I just wanted to wait until things settled down with the job, until we'd lived together for more than 2 weeks, until you were sure I wouldn't change my mind? Maybe, yeah. Noah, I'm not changing my mind. I moved in with you. I'm helping raise your daughter. I've integrated myself into every part of your life. What would possibly make you think I'm not sure about this? Nothing logical, just old fears, I guess. Then let me be clear. I love you. I love Lily. I love this messy, complicated life we're building. And whenever you're ready to make it official, I'll say yes. Noah felt emotion tighten his throat. I'll remember that. He flew home the next day with a plan forming in his mind. It wasn't elaborate or perfect, but it felt right. He stopped at a jewelry store near the airport, spending longer than he probably should have looking at rings before finding one that seemed to fit Victoria. Elegant, but not ostentatious. Distinctive, but not flashy. When he got home, Lily launched herself at him with enough force to nearly knock him over. Victoria was right behind her, and Noah pulled them both into a hug that lasted longer than strictly necessary. I missed you two so much, he said into Victoria's hair. We missed you too, Lily said. Did you bring my surprise? Noah pulled out a small Portland soccer team pennant, and Lily squealed with delight. While she ran to her room to hang it up, Noah caught Victoria's hand. Can we talk later, after Lily's asleep? Of course. Everything okay?